Good morning.
Good morning, Robert.
And I was talking about the idea of radical love. And in our culture, we're taught to be nice. We're taught to keep everybody happy. We're taught to don't ruffle feathers, okay? So we get this artificial layer of sweetness, if you will. Okay, have you ever heard somebody say, well, oh, isn't that nice? When they really mean, I'd like to strangle you. Okay, so the idea is we've got this artificial idea of love that's permeating through our society. And if somebody doesn't adhere to the society's belief in that love, they're outside. They're not appreciating me. They're not. So in looking at that, I've been looking at the idea of being radical in the conversation. I said earlier, Jesus was a radical. Please understand. He said, you ready? Love thy neighbor as thyself. Now, how many neighbors do you have you don't love? Anybody have family members that don't love? And throughout life, there are people that we can't bring into our aura of love. But Jesus is saying, they deserve my love. Now, to me, that's radical love, which means I'm loving, I'm accepting, I'm appreciating you no matter what you think, feel, or what you've done. Even though your idea is absolutely crazy, according to me, I appreciate you. That's radical. And if we really applied that in today's world, what would our culture be like? Can you imagine TV without all this stuff on it? I have a tendency when I go on to surf, I do. It drives Madeline nuts.
No, it doesn't, Richard.
What? Richard, yes, excuse me. But we're careful with words. But if you understand, in my surfing, everything is violence. Or get back, or manipulation, or revenge, or whatever you will. So that's the norm of our society, which is to get angry at something that offends me. Out there right now, we have to be careful what we say, yes? Mm-hmm. I mean, and evidently on colleges' campuses, you have to be careful about speaking something that somebody else doesn't like. Folks, there's a lot of things that I don't like, that you don't like, and it's part of life. We watched a movie last night, The Moses Code. Those of us who were with us, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. And the Moses Code, you ready for this? It is this. When Moses saw the burning bush, he asked God, what is your name? And what came out of the bush was, I am that, you ready? Comma, I am. So what that means is everything I see is God. So the Moses Code was saying everything you see is God. So when I look at Doug, okay, when I look at David, when I look at any of you, I am looking at God. And do I appreciate and do I accept you and I do love you as God? When I'm on TV and I see a TV character I don't like, do I see God? Okay? Yes. It's a very interesting conversation. So in the word radical, now radical implies, I looked this up, okay? Revolutionary, something new and beyond the normal day-to-day transitions, beliefs. So would you agree that love itself, as it is applied, is beyond the normal day-to-day stuff? Because we're not trained to do that. We're trained to hate. We're trained to get angry, immediately get upset. Okay? So in that process, what was Jesus teaching? Now, some of the basic teachings are, number one, I or you are an immortal spiritual being. Everybody take a deep breath. I'm going to say it again. Each of us is an immortal spiritual being. What does that mean?
Can't die.
What?
We can't die.
Can't die. Now, everybody say, well, yeah, we die. We're in the physical world. So that means that the physical world might not be the real world. So in this world that we live in, there are visible things. There are also invisible things. And we have been so trained to deal with the visible things that we have not been trained to deal with the invisible things. And Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. Is that invisible? Yes. Okay, so maybe love in its application is an invisible energy that only pays off for those who have learned to express love. So if you understand, there are energies everywhere present. And the only difference between the eyeglasses and me is the frequency at which we vibrate. So maybe there are energies beyond our comprehension. Anybody familiar with radio waves? Can you see them? No. You just have to take out faith that they're there. All right? Anybody have a dog that hears a dog whistle that you don't hear? And what we have to do is just know that that's the truth. Okay, what other invisible things are there?
Air.
Air, the air around us, it has substance. We are told it's full of molecules. And how do I believe that? I can't see it and prove it visibly. I have to take it on faith. So, Jesus said, Paul said, by faith are you saved by faith. By grace are you saved by faith. So it's a free gift. And once we accept by faith that there are invisible energies and learn how to work with the invisible energies, maybe life changes for us. See, everybody's looking for the secret. Everybody ready? The secret. I'm trying to remember the lady's name that put out the secret movie originally.
Rowan.
What's her name?
Ronan.
Rhonda.
Rona. Okay, anyway. And the secrets, and everybody wants to know the secret. Well, maybe the secret is to have faith that there's invisible energies. And Jesus, 2,000 years ago, gave us a code or a pattern to use to access those invisible energies for good. And those invisible energies are maybe the virtues that are talked about in life, which are love, appreciation. What are some other virtues? Honesty, integrity. So those are the invisible energies that create what we're looking for. Now, are we expressing those invisible energies in the world, or all we have to do is look around and say no? We still got divisions. Anybody agree we have divisions? I understand divorce is still around 50%. So we can, the most natural thing in the world is to get two genders together, I think. And yet we struggle with that. Why? Because we're still not in alignment with the invisible energies. And the one major invisible energy, I'm told, over the years, is the invisible energy of love. And how do we express love? We just express love. So I'm and this is the interesting thing, the most sacred literature talks about forgiveness and expressing love in one form or another. So what do we have to forgive? Everybody ready? Yourself. Okay? I watch things and I watch what happens. And one of the things I see is people are more difficult toward themselves than they are others. Okay? I go back to the 40 million people in the United States that have been diagnosed with anxiety. And the anxiety usually is I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too whatever. And we make up all these stories about, and I can't live up to that. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday that was saying, they were saying, well, I'm not good enough in this area. And my question was, who set the standard for that conversation? So who set the standard for you to say that I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or whatever? And it's usually somebody outside. It's society. It's anybody familiar with being normal?
I don't have that problem.
Well, tradition says, and by this age I should be at this level. By 40 I should be this. There's all these conversations that are standards set by other people. Now, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is where? Within. So whose standard am I working toward or should be working toward? I don't like the word should, but I'm going to use it. It's my individual belief in myself. So again, we're connecting with invisible energies. Deep within us, deep within you is a core of divinity. Okay? What's interesting is we're told over and over again, the kingdom of heaven is within. We're told over and over again in Scripture, in not only Christian Scriptures, but other Scriptures, that you're perfect and whole just as you are. And that everything you need is already available to you. Anybody ever heard that before? And you heard the affirmations Madeline was using. You're a child of God. You're perfect and whole. You're already there. It's already done for you. It's all inside. The song we sing, it's all inside you. So all these things are already there, but we are in competition with the visible conversation from the world out there. So the kingdom of heaven is within, and I've been looking at this, okay? Because we're all on this, see, here's the key, folks. We're all on this path together. And some of us are on the path, and we fall off once in a while, yes? Maybe every other day or so. And we're not perfect. And then we look at somebody else and say, well, if he can't do it, and so we're making up stories about everybody else. And the only person that really means anything to you is who? You. And we keep going back to it again. The kingdom of heaven is within. You are God in expression. You are an expression of God. You already have programmed into you everything you need to succeed. A lot of people have problems with the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus said, don't worry. Anybody familiar with that? Take no thought. Everything is already there for you. Everything is already handled for you at the invisible level. Now, one of the things it says in this book, The 12 Powers, and I do want to read this to you. I was sharing this with Bobby earlier. Charles Fillmore, he was an amazing, let's say teacher. He had some crazy ideas, to be honest with you. He felt that we could live forever. I'm sure he was disappointed when he passed away. But the idea here is, it is not expected that beginners in the study of metaphysical Christianity will understand these ideas. They are so radical and so different. Because you've been told and trained all your life, you've got to get an education, you've got to work, you've got to struggle. You're a little different, so you might have to do this or that. So we've given all these stories in the visible world. And the invisible world is saying, no, you're a child of God, you're perfect. And then he goes on and says here, the average religious thinker knows nothing about the subconscious mind.
Right.
Okay, now the subconscious mind is what drives us. That's all the stories you've been given. That's all the events you've had. That's all the traumas you've experienced. It's all the good things you've experienced. So anytime in life you are confronted with something, you go back automatically into the subconscious mind and regurgitate what happened, and you act from that. And then, are you ready? And then it says, let's see, you have to know about someone, and very little about the superconscious. Now, the superconscious we can call God. The Hawaiian and the Huna beliefs believe that there's a part in our body here which is connected to spirit, which is the superconscious. Okay? So the idea of God has been throughout religions everywhere. You can call it Allah, you can use whatever name, but there is an energy for good in the universe. And that energy for good is available to us when we speak the right words. You there? And the right words are the invisible words, the invisible energies that create the lifestyles we're looking for. And those are all the positive words. Love, appreciation, God, you can use that, Jesus, whatever you choose to use. But those are the words that create invisible energies over a period of time. Now, it also says, you ready for this? It says, here is set forth the metaphysical idea of spiritual quickening of a person on a human plane, but not by a miracle or a fiat of God. It doesn't happen like that. And he goes on and says, this by miracle, but the gradual refinement of the man of flesh into the person of spirit. So we are born, see, again, born again. You got this, born again. And that was a idiom back then, and then shift your thinking. So born again from the flesh into the spirit. So it's up to us to make that choice. I am going to work on a spiritual intention. I'm going to look at this material world, but I'm coming over here to slowly change my consciousness into a spiritual consciousness. And that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. See, if it was easy, everybody would be there. Matter of fact, they'd have TV programs on it, yes? they would. One of the commentators would be out, oh, there, where they've been. And then you'd be going on and on and on. But it's not easy. It's contrary to the natural state that we see around us. And it's, what do you mean, love your neighbor? That's crazy. Why should I love Trump or Pelosi? That's nuts. You're weird. As a matter of fact, some folks would get angry at me for saying that. True? Why? Because that's what we're trained to do. See, folks, we are individuals that think, smell, hear, visualize, and that's all stored. So whatever you learned as a child is what comes back 20, 30, 40 years later. Okay, so the kingdom of heaven is within, and the kingdom of heaven is perfect and whole. So within us is everything that's perfect and whole. So it's up to us to re-spiritualize this over a period of time. And we're not talking small stuff. Everybody there? The word radical, although it is, I admit, in today's world, it is a strong word. But it really means revolutionary. It means changing from where it's here to what's there. So I kind of like it. It's really, it's in a way, it's, I say this in my article this week. I have a tendency to want you to love me. See, I want to sugarcoat things. I want you to feel good. But does that really support me? Does that really support you? And are we on a spiritual path together? And are you waking up and doing what's necessary to be on a spiritual path? Because continuing the way the world is going to keep us in the way the world is. The only way to change that for myself and for all of us is to get over here and do a spiritual path. Now, everybody has a different spiritual path. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I will say, generally, most spiritual teachings talk meditation, which is silence, affirmations, affirmative prayer, speaking words that change this, and then community, being together and appreciating each other, and speaking good about each other. Isn't that an interesting idea? So rather than criticize my kids, I need to speak good about them. Anybody relate to what I just said?
Yes.
Because sometimes, God, I wish they'd change. However, maybe my thoughts about them are holding them in that process. You see, that's how powerful each of us is. You are spiritual beings creating a spiritual world, and in that spiritual world, things work. I saw a hand go up.
There was some conflict in our family.
Yes.
And one of my children wanted them to change. And I knew that I didn't have that control or that power. So I blessed it and released it. And just recently he told me on his way home one day he had a feeling come over him to change the way he was handling that situation.
A feeling came over
And
him.
our family is holding it.
Okay. You see, what was interesting to me, the daily work today, I'm going to share it again with you. Where did it go?
It's up on this.
Okay. See, this is an interesting idea, folks. I trust God in you. See, I don't have to pray to God to change you. I trust God in you that's going to give you an idea. Okay? So if see, again, we're back to faith. This is why in the 12 powers, faith is the beginning. I have to have faith that what I'm doing is true, works, and is truly on a spiritual path. The rest of it starts coming together, but forget about it unless you have faith and understand who you are. Because the rest of it doesn't matter. Because anybody ever heard somebody that just talks? and then they never get anything done. Hello? And I admit to that, I've spent years, yes, okay, I'm good God. It's that quiet time, it's the daily devotion time, it's the reading, whatever it is, it's a spiritual thing. And it's also maybe calling each other and saying, hey, I appreciate you, I love you, okay? Some of you show up, or one of the things this group does, when somebody's going into the hospital, you show up, and we pray in. There's all kinds of things that are necessary to let that the invisible energy start flowing. And it's up to each one of us to get that energy flowing from the kingdom which is in us. We could talk about this for hours, couldn't we? But I am a child of God. And in that process, I forget. I do. And we want you to know that you're a child of God, and the process requires us to be on the path. So we want to thank you for being with us. I love you dearly. And we're up to great things. That church is going to be built out there, so it is. And this church is growing in energy. We're reaching out all over the area. We really are. On our Facebook page, we have people from all over the country once in a while showing up. It's really very interesting. I do want to thank RJ, by the way. He's really pumping, what do you call it? Media, yeah. Thank you. So anyway, I'm going to end it there. Okay? I do have something else to say, so could you turn that thing off?